One of my favorite activities and workshops is called the Iceberg Theory. And it derives from a book called Beyond Culture by Edward Hall. Now, this is not a book recommendation. It's not a great book, but it is a really good theory. And in this theory, it talks about above the waterline, you have the tip of the iceberg. And that represents our observable behaviors, like the language that we use, the decisions that we're making. But actually below the waterline has a lot of the context that drives that observable behavior. Our attitudes, our beliefs, our feelings, the things on the inside that impact how we show up on the outside. And I always encourage people at work to have more interesting conversations to get to know their colleagues, to ask questions like, if you knew you couldn't fail, dreaming big, what would you do? Right? Or what's one dream you have that's unfulfilled? Or what did you grow up thinking that you were going to be as an adult? Right? Just interesting questions to get to know people in different ways. Like, I hate when I go to networking events, for example, at the end. What's the first question everyone will ask you?
What do you do?
Hate it. What are better questions that you can ask in that type of environment to get to know people?
I think problems with questions like what do you do means they often limit the potential for that conversation to grow. Because there's only really one option you're giving someone to say, and it's for someone to say their day job, right? But you're not talking about what really lights them up. And I think people often feel a pressure to almost answer in one statement, knowing that you're going to kind of box them into something. So there's so many questions that can actually open up the conversation and really allow the conversation to progress. So things like, tell me about you, or how do you know the host, or is there anything exciting you're working on at the moment? It gives people a chance to really come back with a point of connection and for that conversation to grow, rather than people feeling like they're being boxed off by talking only about their job title. And some other questions I absolutely love, if you know people a little bit better, are things like, what are you most proud of? Who inspires you? There's things you can ask that really get that conversation going without leaning into those normal questions that we always resort to.
One thing that I love about what you just explained as well is that so much of our identity is wrapped up in work. And when you ask these questions, it almost creates a status symbol to say that if I'm unemployed or if I'm on maternity, I actually feel less than, because you're asking me what I do for work, and you've immediately created this dynamic. Whereas when you ask those questions about your feelings, what lights you up, what excites you, what you're working on right now, it's so expansive and it allows me to share more of who I am rather than just what I do at work.
Exactly. If someone said to me, what are you excited about at the moment, or what are you working on? There's lots of things I could come back with. It could be projects, it could be things outside work, you could be renovating a house, and it gives that point of connection for the next person to come back. Because rather than you saying a job title and they think, I don't know much about that job, so I'm just going to not say anything back, it gives that point of connection where they can come back and say, oh, that's actually really interesting. I renovated my house a while ago, right? It's always having those points of connection, and that's how we build deeper connection.
And what I love about this is that culture is rooted in increasing the surface area of connection. So these conversations do exactly that.